All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Coffee and Cigars live stream. Here we are once again. It's Thanksgiving, and we're doing the Thanksgiving show here. This was something that I wasn't sure if we were going to actually do today because when Mom asked me this morning on the morning live stream on the main channel, he was like, "Are you going to do tonight's stream?" And I was like, I'm not really sure because it all kind of depends on how things go with family today and. So, it was going, we were all hanging out, and then suddenly right around 7:15, everyone's like, okay, time to go home. It's like, well, oh, I guess we can do it. So here we are. Welcome back to the show and the weekly Thursday night hang. Good to see all of you. I know some of you might not be with us because it's Thanksgiving and you're probably with your own families, but those of you who are here with us, with me, come and welcome. Glad to see you. Glad to see it. It's interesting because I was thinking about it just a few minutes ago, and this live stream began. If I remember correctly, this live stream started on Thanksgiving in 2020 during the pandemic. And it was one of the, I think it was either, I just thought about as I was setting up in the last half an hour to do this, that it was then, and I could be wrong. It could have been like Christmas, but it was right around this time 4 years ago. Mom, good to see you, man. We did make it. How was your Thanksgiving? Hope it was a good one. And so, like I said, we started it's been 4 years. So now 217 episodes that we've been hanging out here on Thursday nights. That's quite a few. It's quite a few evenings there talking. But yeah, just want to say good to see all of you. Thank you for joining me every week. It's always a good time. We've got a little bit of stuff here today. I got the heater running. It's pretty chilly outside. Oh, I need to turn on we'll turn on later. And so, how was your Thanksgiving? Here in my house, my family, we get together, and today I made. Well, everybody brings something in our family, right? So my cousin, well, they just moved yesterday. I was helping them move yesterday, so they didn't really, they didn't have to, they weren't able to prepare anything, which is fine because we helped them move yesterday. So they've got this whole new place to live. So it's me. So my aunt brought a big ham from Heavenly Ham. Um, what else? My brother and sister-in-law, they brought some mashed potatoes. My brother likes to make this really heavily garlicky, buttery mashed potatoes. He makes that every year. A lot of Parmesan cheese, like freshly grated Parmesan, really beautiful. And my sister-in-law made the stuffing, which is this kind of traditional stuffing with like big chestnuts in it. Really nice. So my plan in the morning is to make waffles. That's my usual post Thanksgiving breakfast is stuffing waffles. And then my mom and aunts made they made some Filipino dishes. They made this um pastel, which is this no, actually they made arroz valenciana. Pastel was the other day. Arroz valenciana is this very sticky glutinous rice, not the sweet rice, but very sticky with chicken and tomatoes and potatoes. Very much arroz valenciana, as you can imagine, that is very much part of the Filipino cultural or Filipino colonial heritage, right? A lot of that Spanish influence coming through. So yeah. Mom says it was great. I'm glad to hear it. Glad to hear it. Hope you had a lot of great food. I'm interested to know, what did you eat today? What did you guys prepare? Drop in the comments because I am curious to know. And then my mom made this salmon dish that she always makes, kind of baked salmon. And what else did we have today? We had quite a lot. There was quite a lot, but not too much. Not too much. I made the turkey, so I kind of chronicled this on the morning show. But basically, on Tuesday, we got this turkey and from Wegmans. They said it was fresh, but it was actually frozen. But the nice thing about buying a turkey so late, right before Thanksgiving, is that they're discounting them heavily to get rid of them. So this 20-pound, $50 turkey costs like $13. So really a great deal. And I thought I thought it'd be kind of hosed because it's so late. What am I going to do? So I got a great deal, but it was a little bit frozen, and I kind of like kept it out overnight or all afternoon and into like the early morning, like 1 a.m. I put it in the refrigerator, kept it uncovered, had it salted and all this, dry brined, and then this morning at 6:30, well, I got up at 6, started heating the oven, 325 degrees into the oven, and I figured a 20-pound bird would probably take about 4.5 to 5 hours. So if I get it by 6:30, 11:30. Oh, I guess 11:30, 12 would be ready. And we had our plan is to have everyone come over by, typically people come around 1. Our family Thanksgiving is like a later lunchish kind of thing. Like the idea of people like I know a lot of some of my friends will sit down for a dinner, Thanksgiving dinner, and I don't know, I feel that's kind of late. Like to me, we've never done that, so it's like a little bit odd to do a dinner. So I'm just kind of like, all right, but whatever. I mean, Mom says that they had turkey breast, fried chicken, curry, gold, ziti, yellow rice, collard greens. Oh man, potato salad, rainbow pasta, candied yams, meatballs. Good Lord, that sounds delicious, man. Ham and cornbread. Oh my gosh, that's awesome, man. That's awesome. That's awesome. Definitely an excellent spread there. I love the yellow rice, the ziti, the curry. Oh my gosh, man. And more. Oh, that's epic. So did you have a big gathering? We had about, I think 13 of us were here, and then my cousin and her family who live up in Philadelphia, they are actually traveling through Asia right now. So they were away. They'll be back for Christmas, but normally they're here with us. So there's like usually like almost 20 people here. So today was a little bit smaller than normal, but really a nice turnout. Nice to hang out with family. And then my nieces and I play, and with my sister-in-law, we all played Uno for a couple hours. I emerged victorious 3 times. My niece Gabby was victorious 3 times. Polly was victorious once. Um, Lucy was victorious 3 times as well. And unfortunately, um Alexis was victorious no times. But always good to hang out with them. Always good to hang out. And so the turkey, what I like to do. So I mean, I don't really make turkey that often. Most years I'm not making the turkey. Most years I'm just doing something else. But this year I was doing the turkey, and so this year I decided to roast it. So like I said, 325. I figured we'd take 4 or 5 hours, and then I just left it. I just left it go. 325. What I did though is I inverted the bird. I inverted the bird so that what we think is the bottom, which is really the top of the bird in real life when they're alive, was exposed to the open cavity of the oven and the upper heating element, right? So that cooked really well. So after the live stream this morning, it was about 11 o'clock or almost 11 o'clock. So I went up there upstairs and I was like, checked out at the bird. The skin was getting a little bit burned, a little bit like darker brown. I was like, oh, I better turn this sucker over. So I turned it over, temperatured it. So it's getting close to 11:30. I'm temperaturing it. And my ideal temperature to pull the bird that I was planning was about 155 degrees. And where I like to measure it is to take the probe and go into the deepest recesses, the deepest center part of the breast, and then down into the deepest part of the thigh. 155 in both, done. I was reading 166 and I was like, uh-oh, I'm in trouble. I'm in trouble because I just turned the bird over and the breast skin wasn't crisp yet. It wasn't really dried out. It had spent the entire cook time inverted, so any kind of moisture and juices was flowing by gravity through over that skin and dripping onto the bottom of the pan. Now we had tons of drippings, incredible amounts of drippings. So I just took that turkey and turned it over, put it back in the oven, and I was just sitting there debating, like, do I keep running it until the skin crisps and risk pushing it farther into the temperature zone where it could dry the turkey out? And I was like, oh man. Then I just decided, you know what? I'm much more trying to get moist, tender turkey meat that is delectable and enjoyable is much more important to me than getting that crisp skin. So I was like, we're gonna pull it. So I pulled it at about 166 and let it sit. And so, like I said, not everyone's. It's 11:30, so it was. I guess it cooked right around the time that I expected, but I was thinking it was going to take a little bit longer because I thought it might be frozen on the inside. So I gave it a little bit of leeway. So it sat around for about an hour and a half before we started to carve it, and about like 1:30, almost 2 o'clock. And it turned out to be wonderful. Like really, I was really surprised. I'm really pleasantly surprised that it turned out as well as it did. Everything was moist. Everything was tender, as you might hope that a turkey would be. So that turned out really well. And Mom says that for dessert, sweet potato pie, pumpkin pie, and apple pie. Oh man, nice. My nephew made the pumpkin pie. He's a big pumpkin pie fan, so he made the pie. Really nice as well. Beautiful. I and actually kept some of the dessert here. I was going to share with you as well. Here, got a couple selections of dessert that we'll try out. As you can see, this is the pumpkin pie that my nephew Ollie made for us. Right. My other aunt went and got some chocolate cake from Wegmans because I said to her the other week, I said, I really like the Wegmans cake. It's really good. And I don't know, I featured it on the live stream like a week ago or so. And I thought then it was really sweet. Today it didn't taste as sweet. So I don't know if it's just my taste buds or something that is acting strange or whatever, but that's what it is. And then this little tiny black thing here in the front is what we call biko. Biko. Biko is a black rice. It's a black rice dessert where we're taking black rice, a little bit of sugar, sweetened condensed milk, I think some coconut milk, and or maybe maybe it's just sugar and sweet and coconut milk. I don't know. I've never made this. This is my aunt made this, and we're cooking it down, or we're cooking it, and then making it into this rice-based dessert with the black rice. And what you see on top there, this brown stuff that's piled on there, is actually called latik. And latik is easily made. It just takes time. If you're familiar with the process of making brown butter, where you take the butter and you slowly brown it until it breaks down. So as the butter melts, you see the fats, not the fats, but the fats, the milk solids that are floating in the butter. For clarified butter, you clear that out and you separate the solids from the fat, and then you have clarified butter or ghee. In this case, the latik is very similar. You're taking coconut milk or coconut cream, and you're doing the same kind of process, slowly heating it in a pan until the fats and the solid separates from the fats. And like brown butter, we are also going to um, cook those fats, brown those coconut solids until they become little crispy, crunchy things that are very oily and very like toasted coconut flavor. And then we put that on top. Now, here in this case, this was made hours ago, and you can see that the latik is hard, kind of like a crispy, crunchy thing, but really it's meant to be very loose and oily and a little bit of crunch on there. So the oils, the coconut oils, of course, coconut oil will coagulate at very low temperatures. So this has coagulated, I mean, it's pretty cold out tonight, especially now that we're in the garage, and it's like, but it's a wonderful thing. And yeah, it's a great little dessert. My aunt makes it, and I always enjoy it. So I thought I'd bring those to share and to talk about. But I also thought we'd do some coffee. And this morning, as you know, those of you who were here, oh, you know what I forgot? Oh no, I didn't. We did a coffee this morning from a place in Charleston, South Carolina, a brand called Swift Kick. And so this is the same bottle I was using, bourbon pecan, and we tried it this morning, and I thought we could do it a little bit better, and maybe this time we're going to do it a little bit hotter, right? And we're going to kick it up a notch as well. So we're going to look at that. Now, what we did this morning is we took this, mixed it with milk. But tonight, I think what we're going to do is I've got this. This is something I was going to put on the morning live stream, but I think we'll do it here. This is something I picked up at the Goodwill for like $3, $3.99. It is, I don't know what it is. It looked interesting. Basically, it's a milk frother. And I believe it's a milk frother heater that is, I can't tell what that is. I can't tell what it is because I can't see anymore. Yeah, milk frother model MMF008, but it doesn't really say the name of the brand. It has this logo for the brand, but I don't know, I don't know what that is. Uh-oh. So it's got a portable base so you can take off. Okay, good. And we're gonna take the tape off. I bought this like a month or 2 months ago. I went to a Goodwill and they had this. And I was like, well, that's kind of interesting. Maybe it's something we can include in one of the morning streams. And as you can see there, inside here is a stainless steel. There's a spindle. Oh gosh, it's gotten on all the food. There's a little thing here that should spin. You can see the markings on the side here. I don't know what they say. They say max, whatever. we're not going to worry too much about that. And I believe this goes on here like, oh yeah, so this just fits around. There we go. So that fits on here. And this is going to be what, I should probably clean this before we started, but that's all right. It is coated on the inside with this non-stick kind of coating, right? And what we're going to do is we're going to put the mixer in there, so it just kind of fits in there, and we're going to fill it with some water, some milk. I got some milk here. Let's go to the now. Okay, so this little thing comes apart, right? And as I look here on these markings, which you can barely see, there we go. The top one here just has it says max, and it has just the black part, right? And then below it is the next line, also says max, but it has an icon like this. So that must mean that the middle line, right, is the maximum amount of milk that goes when you're using this, where you can fill it larger if you're using just the black part all on its own. So we're going to follow that because who knows what will happen. Okay, that's good. That's good. I've got that now set correctly, I think. And then we're going to I'm going to put the cap on. I guess let's put the cap on. And then I need power. So I pulled some power. Hopefully this doesn't blow up. Hopefully it's all right. So this is just the power brick. And let's tilt this down a little bit so you can see what's going on here. Okay, so here's our base. We've got two icons on the front. I don't really know what they mean. I have no idea. Okay, we're going to put that on the base. Now that's going to turn it on, and we're just going to press the button. All right, so now it's on. As you can see, the lights are on. Lights are on. And now the thing is spinning. It's spinning. It's doing its thing. So I'm presuming that it's not only whipping the milk, but it is also heating the milk. Oh yeah, wow. It looks like there's already texturing of the milk happening. Let's take that off. Yeah, we can see some micro bubbles. It feels like maybe it's a little bit warmer than it was. Okay, so that's definitely, we don't want to raise that water, the milk line for this purpose higher than that max. That max really is the right point for that. Now I'm going to presume, oh, we're even seeing some steam coming off the top. So it's heating very rapidly. That's quite impressive. This is very similar to the same thing that Matt has at his house under a much fancier name. But the milk is getting hot. Look at that. I don't know if you can see the steam coming off that, but look at that. That's very surprising. Now, I can see probably better detail than you can on camera. Okay, now it's stopped. The micro bubbles are not super microfine, but they are quite fine enough for what we're seeing here. And now we're just going to take so the red light is blinking, must mean that it's ready. Now we're going to take our thermal mug here, this tool, and now I'm going to add this bourbon pecan. I'm going to fill it pretty, like this morning I wanted to fill it more, but I filled it pretty good here, right? That's a good amount of volume, about halfway. And now we're going to add the milk to it. I probably should have. Now, the one problem now that I've let it sit for a while, it's kind of already separated. So we want to, can we incorporate this again? Let me hit this button. What I'm doing is I'm just going to start back together just to reincorporate it, right? So now that it's reincorporated, I'm going to hit this button again. It should stop it. Perfect. And now we're going to pour to try to get a good blending of the milk and the bourbon pecan thing. I'm gonna put the lid back on here just to, I don't know why, but just to preserve the, not that I need to preserve it because we're not gonna drink anymore probably, but you know, there it is. There it is. All right, so this is our bourbon pecan with hot steam milk. Rusty's here with us. You're on. What a way to end my turkey day. Happy Thanksgiving, man. Good to see you, my brother. Good to see you. Glad you could join us. Yeah, well, like I said to Mom earlier, we just kind of had my family all left at around 7:30. So I was like, oh, I got time. Let's set it up and let's do it, man. But it's good. It's good. It's good that we're here, man. It's good that we're all here. All right, so let us taste. Now, if we recall from this morning, let's see if this is any better in a hot format. And we do have more, what do you call it? We do have more balance, I think, here between the two. We have more coffee. The the cold coffee has mixed in, but it's a little bit layered. Actually, it's interesting. It's very layered. I don't know if much of the milk actually got in, like the base milk that actually would be flavored or reheated. Then maybe it needs to be stirred. Now, it's fun. It's a fun, you know, that's the one thing with this. This morning, this was fun. This evening, it's also kind of fun. So, you know, we're not looking for anything too hardcore, too serious this night, Thanksgiving. We're just giving thanks. So let's see how it all pairs with today's, with the Thanksgiving desserts. Like I was saying to Mom earlier, Rusty, we've got some biko, you know, Philippine style biko that my aunt made with latik. We have my nephew made the pumpkin pie, and then my other aunt brought some chocolate cake from Wegmans. So we're gonna try that. Let's taste them out. I haven't tried the latik, the biko today yet. So this is the biko. So it's black. Like I said, this is black rice that is cooked a long time. We in the Philippines we have a lot of desserts, at least especially from my mom's province of Nueva Ecija, where they use a lot of rice because it's the rice granary of the Philippines. It's basically where a lot of the rice production happens for the country. So there's a lot of rice-based desserts, and this is one of them. Oh, nice and chewy, a little bit like, I don't know the term that we would use in English. It's a term we call makunat. And oh yeah, that's good. I'm glad I didn't have it any more earlier because I would have totally, oh man, I wish I could tell you there must be places in New York, New Jersey that make these kind of desserts, Filipino bakeries or something, but I don't know where they are, but I would encourage you to try it. Rusty says that the only thing smoked today was my maple syrup and bourbon brine turkey. Excellent, excellent. Oh, Anton, my gosh, Anton, isn't it a bit late for you today to be hanging out with us? But glad to see you. Welcome here, man. Good to see you. That's funny. If I wasn't on night shift, oh, that's why there'd be no way for me. Well, so glad you could join us, man. So glad you could be here. Good and hungry. Yeah, you're very hungry. And then Rusty says, then a hefty pour of the old granddad bonded bourbon with my pecan pie. Oh, that's a good idea. So this morning or later this afternoon, I was looking at some of the comments from on YouTube, right? Just because I sometimes I get the time to check out the comments. Actually, it's reaching a point on the main channel where like it's becoming difficult to keep up with all the comments, which is great, But I feel a little bit bad about that. But George Brightman watched the stream later in the day and he commented that he was like, I spied something better than the larceny. And I was like, maybe we'll try that today. So we're going to give that a taste. But you know what? Now that we're thinking about it, we should give that a taste. Let me pull that out. This is a bourbon that I picked up quite a long time ago. That I figured was pretty. I guess it's pretty rare. I don't know how rare. I don't really know bourbon, so I don't really know how rare any of this is. But I picked it up somewhere along the way. I don't know if I was at maybe we were at maybe we were in Kentucky at the time. I don't remember, but somehow I got it. And this is the Black Maple Hill limited edition. Right, it's called limited edition Kentucky Straight Bourbon, whole handmade sour mash, and this is the premium small batch. Aged in select white oak cask, hand bottled, alcohol 47.5, 95 proof. What they don't really say anything else about it. What else does it say on the bottle here? Distilled and aged in Kentucky, bottled by hand, bottled by Black Maple Hill Distilling in Bardstown, Kentucky. I think maybe I don't think I got it at the distillery because I don't remember going there. We only went when I was the one time I was in Kentucky. We only went to Maker's Mark because back then I was really into the Maker's Mark thing. But as you can see, it's an unopened bottle. Unopened bottle. So let's open it. And Rusty says Bardstown is the birthplace of bourbon. Oh, I didn't know that. All right, well, maybe this is one of the the early ones. So let's get into it. We have they of course like like Maker's Mark, or perhaps Maker's Mark is like them. They dip it in a black wax or a wax. This is black, and now we have to peel it off somehow. There's a piece of string. Oh, that string is gone. As you can tell, I am a dilettante. I am a goodness. How do I get this open, Rusty? How do we open this thing? Rusty says you spent 3 days there this summer on my way. I remember you going there. Okay, so there's a little bit of stuff protruding. I guess I just need to pull this and be really, really strong on it. Oh, there we go. There we go. Now we're getting it out. Broke off the chip, chipped out. Oh, I don't know if because it's old that it chips out, kind of ugly. This is kind of like a fiber back tape. All right, looks like that's the whole thing. Looks like we got everything out of there. All right, there it is. Anton says, use the Festool. You have a garage with Festool stuff and you can't open. I know. It's embarrassing. I'm not worthy of the Festool brands yet. My tools are not that hard. All right, so here's the, ooh, nice and sweet. Oh, that's pretty. Wow, smoky, sweet, very pretty. Okay, let me get a glass. I got one of my father's Roadrunner. Is this Roadrunner? Roadrunner, whiskey rocks glasses. I'm just gonna put straight. We're gonna go straight with this because. Oh, let's put this here so you could. When was it bottled? It was Rusty's asking. I don't know. It doesn't say that I can tell on the bottle when it was bottled. Let me cover it up just in case I spill it. There doesn't seem to be any codes on it. So to be honest, I don't know. I've definitely had this probably over 10 years. Definitely over 10 years. It's just been, that's how bad of a drinker that I am, that I just don't really drink much. All right, itadakimasu. That's really nice. Very complex caramel, vanilla, smoky, woodsy. There's it's really got a deep complexity. Oh, that's really, really nice. Really, really nice. George with us. Good to see you, George. I saw that bottle of Black Maple Hill in this morning's live. George, I was just telling the guys that the reason we're drinking this tonight is because of your comments on that video. Had I not seen those comments, we would not be drinking this. I would not have busted out. Like, these are the kind of things, right, that I'll get. And Anton says, somehow I never believe you when you say that about the drinking. Yeah, I know it's terrible. Like I have this, I've always had this, I've always had this idea that maybe I could be a bon vivant, right? A bon vivant, a raconteur. But you know what? It's like that samples these wonderful things. And maybe I do some of that. I can't deny that. But when it comes to the drinking part, I just don't drink a lot because you know what? Otherwise, if I drank as much as I would like to taste, I'd be drinking alone most of the and there's no good. It's no good getting drunk alone. You should. I always kind of have this feeling that if I'm going to get drunk, I should get drunk with lady friends because maybe they'll take advantage of me, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that idea taking advantage of me. So yeah, I just don't. And this has been sitting. Oh, that's really good. That finish. Oh, okay, okay. Good choice there, George. I'm glad you said to them. Rusty says, swirl it, sniff it, and taste it neat. Then add a few drops of water and repeat. Do I have water here? I do. Oh yeah, swirl it. You know what they told me? I read this white paper quite a while ago, and I've been talking about this for the last 4 years. But they said not to sniff it and to take the whiskey into your mouth and hold it without pre-sniffing it, so that um, you don't interfere with the way your palate's going to experience the spirit. But we'll try this water thing. Let me just grab the bottle of water. Okay. So I've got this little bottle of water here. This piece of white oak is actually something I'm working on as a modification to this workbench. Okay, just a few drops, you said, right? Has this changed? It does. It does. That has, but I think my initial impression is actually less than it was. Like I like it pure than diluted. Now I wonder how it would be if I chilled it down, right? Happy Turkey Day to you as well. George says, if you had that bottle for 10 years, then it's legendary whiskey when no one knew what they were accessing, that they were accessing vintage Stetzel Weller reserves. Oh, it sounds awesome, but I'm one of those people that doesn't know that that he might be accessing vintage Seltzer Weller reserves, and I don't really know what that means. So I've got some ice cubes here. We'll give it a try. We'll try it out. Put one. Just one's enough, right? I can't say that's better. Craig's here. What's going on, Craig? Hi, everyone. Jay, you're on my TV, so I won't be able to comment once I put the phone down. By the way, have you seen the Festool knife, fork, spoon set? Zig showed them on a channel. You know what? That is something they do not. So here's the interesting that I've learned about Festool over the last few weeks is that Festool will offer different items in different parts of the world. Like, for example, there's a saw out. There's a table saw company called Saw Stop, and they make this table saw technology where if you've probably seen the videos where if your finger touches the blade, it has an electrical signal that basically sends that pulls the blade down away from the table, hits it into a break that destroys the blade and destroys the break, but preserves your fingers. they have this technology installed. And so the mother company of Festool also owns SawStop now, and they've incorporated that technology into a table saw that Festool makes called the TKS 80. The TKS 80 is not available in the United States. They also have a new thing called their Sys Air air purifier that is in Europe, but is not available in the United States. So there are things that are out there that are not available here, like that knife, fork, spoon set that I haven't seen here. I was actually looking on. This is the psychosis. I was looking on Festool's German website, and I was like, ooh, they've got a lot of cool stuff. How do we get those? But I can barely afford what we have here. The last thing I need to do is buy stuff from other parts of the world. But that fork knife combination sounds pretty epic. They just released something called the Black. There's a pencil company called Blackwing that makes really nice like wooden pencils. I have one, and they released a Festool version of it. So basically the Blackwing pencil, but with Festool logoing on it. George says, Rusty, we need to get the gang together again. I hope all of our own life friends. Yeah, I think everyone had a great day. Hope everyone did have a great day. After the water, try it with your no doubt, my friend, no doubt. So Anton, I am curious, since we know that it's quite early in the morning in Germany at this hour, what is it that you work at the airport? Is that right? Is that what I'm remembering? You work at the airport. Is that correct? Let me know. Hold the glass under your chin in order not to blow out your sniffer with alcohol fumes. Then take a sip. Oh, under your chin, or right here under the. Oh, I see. Oh, that was bad. Whoa, intense. Stitzelweller is the company that Julius Van Winkle established. So I'm presuming that the Stitzelweller has. I remember there's a whiskey called Old Weller. I guess Old Weller and and Pappy Van Winkle is somehow related. Julius Van Winkle established long before everyone knew that he had begun buying barrels and then blending the fantastic witches. Oh, we become Pappy. Gotcha. Okay. George is here with us. Gosh, I'm so glad that all of you guys are finding your way here to the show, even though we weren't really necessarily planning to have one tonight. Having a happy Thanksgiving, enjoying a Cabaguan with some red wine. Excellent. All right, excellent. So let's try. So one of the things that I decided to try this whiskey here right now before I start to get a little bit more lit was Rusty saying that he had his bourbon with some dessert. So let's try it. So I've got the Biko. Let's try the Biko again. And for those who just joined us, this is Philippine style Biko, which is a black rice coconut milk sugar dessert. Very what we call makunat. So kind of not crunchy, not chewy, just this kind of like really lovely texture. And I don't actually have a English translation for it. And I have a great I have a much better capacity at English than Tagalog. So why I don't know how to describe it, I don't know. Okay, not bad. My nephew made some pumpkin pie. Oh, that was very nice. George says that likewise. I'm going to make it to one day. We should all definitely plan a trip to go to Capitol one day and have some cigars. That'd be really excellent. George says that Old Weller is the middle shelf version of the Van Winkle brands. Oh, okay. Only now popular because of the PVW mania. I'm not sure what PVW means, but I mean I figured that I know that people are really into it and talking about it and crazy about it. So I'm sure it's related to that. Okay, I should probably get rid of that piece of ice in there. Then we'll get some more. Oh, Anton says he's a nurse. Ah, gotcha. I think it was one of our friends from the United Kingdom that comes on, that is also joining us every blue moon on this live stream, that is at the airport. I think he's the one that works. He works at Heathrow. All right, a little bit more. I'm starting to feel a little bit of the effects. Now we're going to try this a little bit with this chocolate cake. This chocolate cake my aunt bought at Wegmans because she knows that I kind of like it. So let's try the chocolate cake with the bourbon. You know, I've never thought of actually like mixing desserts with bourbon, but wow, these actually are really, really nice. Anton says, yeah, we could tell. I would not be surprised. Oh, Pappy Van Peavy, no, Pappy Van. Okay, gotcha. You guys are, I'm just not so well versed. Oh, yeah, I can definitely feel it. So let's go back to our coffee, which is this Swift Kick that we were drinking this morning. Bourbon pecan. I decided to try their bourbon pecan because, well, it's Thanksgiving, and pecan pie, peanut pumpkin pie. I thought it'd be fun. So for those of you who might be joining us, a little bit later after we use this device, this heating, steaming thing for milk. I got this for $4. Wow, yeah, I really am feeling it, Anton. I got this for $4 at the local Goodwill. George says, I baked a chocolate pecan pie and a cream cheese pumpkin pie for today's feast. Oh, nice. That's lovely. That is lovely. Now, one of the things we talked about this morning was, and I think this was George was alluding to in his comments on this morning's live stream, was to mix this. We should have mixed this bourbon pecan with this bourbon. So I'm going to mix a little bit in there. Oh, maybe that's too much. And we'll see if this adds any more dimension to this that will be better than the larceny that we had with this concoction earlier today. I don't know if that really does too much, other than perhaps encourage my insobriety. Yeah, not bad. All right. Now let's get to our cigar. Today, I was thinking, should I go to one of the cigars that I've been planning to do on this live stream? But then I thought, you know what? Today, let's make this a little bit less focused, a little bit less intense. It's a day for enjoyment, a day for relaxation. So let's just go for something nice. And I went to the humidor and I pulled this box out. This is a box of cigars that was gifted to me, 10 cigars, by one of my good friends, Raul Gupta, who owns Tobacco Leaf here in Jessup, Maryland. When I had my 50th birthday 5 years ago, this was what he gave to me for my 50th. And I got to be honest, I didn't really smoke one until this past year. I kind of sat on them. They've been sitting in the humidor, but a really wonderful gift. So this is their 50th anniversary, what they call the hammer. What is it called? The little hammer, because when the Padron grandfather came to America, there's a story here about it. Jose O. Padron, the little hammer. These are what they call the number 50 Maduros from their family reserve. Robusta shaped, and I'll share the story with you a little bit here. So it says here that in 1962, Jose Padron arrived in Miami, an unknown city in a foreign land. This is actually from his words. He wrote this. I had to start from zero. At first, I received $60 monthly as government aid given to Cuban refugees. I was 36 years old, strong and in good health. Every time I cashed that check, I felt like a burden on the country that had taken me in. For many days, I looked for a job and did not find one. Every night, I went home and thought of the future. I was determined to do something so that I could support my family. One day, Raul Fernandez, A friend who worked in the Cuban refugee office asked if I had any carpentry skills. I said I did. He gave me a gift, a small hammer, which he asked me to put to good use. The hammer made me feel I had the necessary tool to become a self-sufficient and not depend on the government handout. During the days, I worked as a gardener. At nights, I did carpentry with the hammer. My dream was to save enough money to open a factory to make great cigars like the ones we used to make in Cuba. Through a lot of sacrifice and hard work, I managed to save $600, money that I made working with the hammer. With that, I made my dream come true and opened Padron Cigars in 1964. I still have the hammer as a reminder of how it all started. More than 40 years later, the hammer is still here, and so is Padron Cigars, the brand that the hammer built, which is a great story, especially on a day like this where Thanksgiving, right? We're giving thanks for new beginnings. And I think that's a great this is a great story to tie into that. Now, Jorge Padron, his son, writes also in the box, at the very top of the box, he writes here, as a boy, my father would show me a small old hammer and tell me how it had changed his life. For his children, and his children grew up here, and as his children, with his children grew up hearing the story of the martillo, the little hammer. Sorry, it's a little bit, the words in that little section are a little bit like mucked up here, so it's hard to read. The martillo, which means hammer in Spanish, the little hammer, it became a tradition. Oh, mortillito, because mortillo is hammer. To make it the little hammer, it would have to be ito, so mortillito. It became a tradition which we now tell our children. The hammer represents the dedication and hard work that went into building Padron cigars. It reminds us of our roots and humble beginnings. It stands for tenacity, integrity, perseverance, loyalty, and much more. The hammer helped lay the foundation for what we are today. The hammer has a deep and special meaning for the Padron family. This is why we are sharing this story with you. And so we've got our cigars here. So I've already smoked 2 of them out of this box. So there's only 8 left. But now that I'm looking at it here, Mad Mofo's with us. What's going on, man? Good to see you. Welcome to the show, man. Happy Thanksgiving to you. It was very generous. Beautiful gift. Beautiful gift. But I got to say, here's an interesting thing that I'm just noticing now here in the light. This is the same cigar, but look at the difference in wrappers. I don't know if it's, I don't know if, is it a question that maybe I've smoked 2 cigars out of here, and I never noticed this prior to this moment, but there are, these 3 are very natural looking. The 5 that are beneath it are very Maduro looking. The box here says Maduro. I don't know if they I'm wondering now. I was gonna make a comment and ask and say like, oh, I'm really surprised to see such a severe and this is, if we're talking about like, having, if we're talking about having even consistency in wrapper profiles, like, let me put this out here so you can see this a little bit differently, better. But if we're talking about wrapper consistency, this is dramatically different. Like, this is like there's like, I can't imagine that a grader assembling cigars would think that these are the similar shades, even if they were across the board like this. So I'm going to presume that this is intentional, that there are 2 different versions of this little hammer that have been mixed together. Now, I don't know if this is actually how they manufacture it and sell it, or perhaps this could be a conglomeration that Raul put together at his shop. But I didn't realize this until just this moment. So I've been smoking. So far I've smoked 2 of these more natural looking Maduro cigars than the actual Maduro looking cigars. So tonight, we're gonna try this Maduro. And I gotta say, the 2 cigars I've smoked out here, beautiful, beautiful, lovely, wonderful cigars, great complexity, good spice, just really excellent. And I'm hoping this will turn out to be the same. I am only saying that hope because I've always had wonderful experiences with Padron cigars. I would, I would, I would have been able to say that I've never had a bad experience with a Padron cigar, except for the one and only time that I brought a Padron onto this show about a year or so ago. The Padron, and I got the really nice one, the Padron 1964, the one that I've always enjoyed. And that one day, that one time, was the one time that I've experienced a Padron that did not perform admirably. Like they've always been amazing performers, but that one was just off. So there is a part of me that's like, gosh, I hope this doesn't go that way. Like the only time, like because I think it's a shame that if I bring Padron onto the show and then suddenly it just doesn't do as well as we talk about it them normally doing, then wow, that's just disappointing. So here it is, the Padron 50th Family Reserve. Mortellito. And I'm just going to put together a score sheet just because we have it here today. Because I thought, well, we might as well see where it is. This is the Maduro, so it's got a really pretty looking, deep colored, chocolatey wrapper. Right? Very even looking. Right. Now I ate a lot today, but I can kind of feel I can feel the drink so far. But of course we ate like at 2:00. So there's our cut. So hopefully that's a nice cut. Let's do the cold draw on it. Easy drawing. The cold draw is actually, maybe it's because I've been drinking bourbon, but it's a little bit on. It's not terribly expressive in the cold draw. So, and also the fragrance, not terribly expressive. I'm going to say 825 for our fragrance and cold draw, but I don't think that's necessarily indicative of how the cigar will smoke. It's just that for whatever reason, it's just a little bit smoother or smaller. Anton says specialty cigar starting from. You're just trying to trigger me, aren't you? Anton's referring to the live stream we did 2 days ago where I was talking about evidently there's a group of people within the specialty coffee scene that wants to raise the threshold for specialty from 80 points to 84, which does have me triggered. I do get triggered by that. Okay, so let's light up here with our torch. So what's everyone else? What else is everyone smoking tonight? Yeah, I think that's ready. Ooh, there's definitely some spiciness, good complexity. And when I say spiciness, I don't mean spicy in the traditional Nicaraguan method of like heavy black pepper. Great smoke production, great puffing, very good complexity. Oh, I know what I need to do. I need to turn the fan on. I've got a fan here that blows the air out the door to help mitigate The smoke. And Tom says, my brain is smoking. And George is having a Tiffany from the Tet Monster Smash box. Nice, nice. And when you're, and Tom says, when you have nothing to do at 2 a.m., your brain starts spinning till you have excess. Oh, gosh. That is a terrible, terrible thing. You know, I had that about 11 years ago. I was hospitalized when I was in the Philippines one year in 2013. Somehow during my trip there, I came down with this knee infection that was so severe, like I couldn't walk. It was totally debilitating. My brother at the time lived there with his family. I was staying at their house, and they had to take me to the hospital where they admitted me, and I stayed in this hospital for 33 days. And during that time, I had knee surgery to clean it out, whatever it was. And, you know, part of that treatment afterwards was to hit me with OxyContin. Is that right? I think it was OxyContin. And man, that thing, I had like bad reaction. And not necessarily like physical reaction, but like mental reaction. Like I was like, I remember one night I couldn't sleep. And I was like, I had that existential dread. Like, it was like I could feel the moment in time ticking away towards my demise. Just like tick, 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 tick. And man, it's 2 a.m, man. I'm just like, oh my gosh. I'm like, I told them right away, I was like, hey, we got to get off this, whatever this is. We got to get off of that. We'll go to something else. I eventually went to something else that was much better. Before that, they gave me morphine, which was fine. Like I wasn't like I don't have like physical reactions to these things. I just have these. Well, at least the OxyContin, I didn't have physical reaction to, just mental reaction. The the morphine, I had a physical reaction where I couldn't piss. Right, like man, I needed to go to take a piss. Like I was like desperate, desperate. Like I was like, oh my god, man, I'm in pain now, right? Like, and I'm trying to do all kinds of things to just like I'm drinking more water to see if it will push it out, but nothing. Like basically the connection from my brain to the floodgates that open to allow your urine to flow were just severed. They just didn't work. They just didn't work. And I'm like, oh my God, man. It's like 2 a.m. again. I'm desperate. I grab my computer. I'm looking online to see what's going on here. Is this a, and I somehow figured out it must be the morphine. So I'm looking at morphine. They're like, it could be a byproduct of morphine. I'm trying to get to the nurses, but nobody's responding because my floor at the time was being renovated. So the actual like ringers on my bed didn't actually connect to the nurses station. So finally, I was so desperate. I pulled the morphine drip. I pulled the IV drip over. I pulled it over to me, and I'm like hitting the buttons. I'm like, I gotta shut this down. So I shut it down, so it would stop the morphine drip. And I probably waited like 20 minutes, 15 minutes for that to like flow. And then I could finally my brain could finally communicate with the floodgates. Gosh. So I told them there's no more of that. So they moved me to the OxyContin. And then I got those, existential dreads. And then we moved to something else that I can't remember the name, but that worked great. Like I like that. I like that drug. Sounds like you had amazing. Yeah, it was fabulous. It was fabulous. So the Maduro, let's say compared to what I've tried from the other two cigars, definitely a little bit deeper of a smoke, a little bit different experience. The other ones were a little bit brighter. This is definitely deeper in the brightness. Tilladin, no, it wasn't Tilladin. If you say the name, I will totally remember it. I just don't remember. I mean, we're talking now. This is 2013, so maybe the the available drugs have changed. It when I got back to the United States, it turns out it's a controlled drug here in the United States. So if I wanted to refill it, I would actually have to go to Mexico and buy more because I kept it. I used to keep it in my travel kit because in case I ever had a need, like I wasn't like taking it, but it was such a good pain reliever that didn't give me any side effects that I was like, I need to keep some with me that just in case. And so I ended up buying some when I went to Mexico because there it's over the counter. Diplodor, no, unfortunately not that, and not Pyritromid either. Um, it is like an OxyContin kind of derivative from what I read later, but I just don't remember the name at the moment. Oh, a new drug. No doubt, no doubt. Yeah, this is actually starting off really well. Draw, construction so far, really, really lovely. But one thing about this is that's different than a lot of the cigars that I normally smoke on a regular basis is that it's not, it's a much more refined. And let's see if we compare it to like I've been smoking through this box of Petite Gordo samplers from Roma Craft. Roma Craft, one thing about Roma Craft, a lot of bold flavors, a lot of like pronounced flavors. Like it's announcing itself, right? It's just this is the cigar, this is some attention, let's get to it. This one is not like that. It's not very pronounced in there. It's definitely very refined. It's very smooth. It's very complex. Whereas, let's say, like the Roma Craft, the stronger cigars demand your respect. This kind of thing expects the respect. Anton says, yeah, nowadays fentanyl zombies are everywhere. Yeah, yeah. I've always been very cautious about drugs. Like I don't really want to do a lot of drugs. Like I remember 20 years ago, I was dating this one girl. And I remember at one point she was like, should we try X? And I was like, she was into it. Like she wanted to try it because, it's all that sensuous kind of drug, right? And I was like, I was like, well, maybe we could do that. But then after a while, I was thinking, hey, man, I don't want to do drugs, man. I don't want to get any chance of getting hooked on it. And she wasn't a drug person, she just heard about it, wanted to try it. So we never did. But I was listening to a podcast recently, Dave Arnold on the Cooking Issues podcast. They were talking about how ecstasy was so, I guess they call it Molly today, was so amazing to do. And like, it's very sensuous. So you do it with your partner and you get it on. And when I was listening to what they were talking about, I was like, maybe I should have tried it. I think I missed out. I kind of was like, I should call her and ask her, hey, you want to get together and try? Leave your husband for a night or half an hour. Half an hour is fine. George says that Jose Orlando Padron was the master of complex but elegant blends, not at all about power. And this is definitely now, George. You would know this. Is this particular cigar? Is this a blend that Jose Padron actually blended, or was this done in tribute to him? Yeah, wise choice. Yeah, I'm not really sure with. Yeah, I didn't want to do that. Now we're stuck with coffee. Now we are stuck with coffee. It's the only drug that I really want to do. Like I'm not even a big marijuana guy. Like a lot of people in coffee are into marijuana. It's not my jam, man. I've done it. Can't say that I haven't. I've experienced marijuana in many wonderful ways. Like one of my good friends, he would keep the bong with fresh water in the refrigerator so that the water was very, very cold at all times, so that when you hit the bong, it had this beautiful, clean smoke. So there was no burn. There was no like heat. I gotta say, that was some really, really, I don't know if it's, but to me, it was very innovative. I was like, this is if I'm going to smoke pot, this is a great way to go. I vaped the pot, not vape. Yeah, you vape. Like years ago, before the pen vapes came out, they used to make this thing called the Volcano. I think they still make it today, Volcano. So the Volcano was this thing where you took a little grinder, you ground the marijuana up, you put it in this big vaporizer, and the vaporizer had a bag. You put the bag on it and filled it up with the vapor. And then you sit there and you hit the ball, you hit with the bag. My cousin had this, and so we were at our friend's wedding out in Hawaii. This is like 2002. My cousin had this. My cousin loves to smoke pot. Back then, he loved to smoke pot, right? So we're out there, and he's like, "Let's smoke." It's like, "All right." He's like, "Don't take too much, man. Only 2 hits." I was like, "I can handle, man." So hit the. This is after the wedding, right? This is like 3 nights. This is what happened 3 nights. We're all staying in this house, right? 1 hit, good, good. 2, good. I can do 3. Don't do 3, man. Don't do. I can do 3. Man, after about 5 minutes, they were right, man. 3 is way too much. 3 was way too much. Like after 3 hits, I was like, I gotta go to bed. I was just like, I gotta go. I would just get up and go to my room and just go to bed because 3 was way too much. 3 was definitely way too much. Like I was nearly debilitated by that. So yeah, it's good times. It's good times. Oh, George says he made the 50th. Excellent. I'm glad to see that. This is really a beautiful cigar. Now I wonder in like times like this where, modern times, is he still able to carry? I mean, how are they carrying on like the blending of this? I mean, obviously the cigars are changing, or the tobacco changes year to year. Anton says, yeah, I know too many people who got psychosis from the harmless weed, and people tried to defend it all the time. I mean, I guess for me, I mean, from what I've seen, and I know your experience is definitely more in depth and different than mine. I haven't seen weed be terribly destructive as other drugs. Perhaps that's why we're a little bit more um, numb to its effects because it's just not as destructive. But yeah, I don't like things that I don't really want to do too many things that are compromising to my clarity and mental capacity. I mean, it goes back to the times when I was younger, like going to the clubs. Like, just never wanted to get involved with like getting messed up because you just never. I just didn't trust like people to like take care of me and like how would I get home? Anton says the thing is, if you meet a person who did weed for a long time, you just know they seem to have. This is what my friends told me. Now, one of our high school friends, who I believe passed away quite a few years ago now, he smoked a ton of pot in high school. Like he smoked all the time. I hadn't seen him since high school. I never seen him since high school. But at one of the reunions that I did go to, some of my classmates were like, "Hey, man, we saw him." I was like, "Oh, how's he doing?" He's like, "Man, he is slow." Like, evidently, the way they described it, they'd be like, "Hey, man, how you doing?" "Good." "What have you been up to?" "Just working." I was like, "Whoa." I was like, "Whoa," like super delayed reaction. I was like, "Wow, man, that is crazy." I was like, "That's crazy." I don't have any friends. I don't have any close friends that are like that. Like none of my really good friends actually do much drugs. They don't really drink that much either. Like I think about my cigar group that I hang out with. Those guys, like, they'll drink once in a while, but they're not drinkers. Like some cigar groups that I hang out with, right? They love to drink. Like they're drinking all the time. Like bottle service. I'm like, whoa, dude, I can't keep up here, man. I can't even think. I'm scared to hang out with you guys, the guys sometimes because, like, I don't want to drink because, like, I got a long drive home from where we hang out, right? So I'm like, oh, yeah. But they can pound it. They can pound it. George says, speaking of podcasts, 20 minutes ago, have you started watching Landman? It's based on an offbeat podcast started by Texas Monthly writer, former Roughneck, and adapted by Taylor Sheridan. Oh, I've not seen that. Landman. Okay. I wonder. So, is it like? Is it similar to Only Murders in the Building, where they're actually depicting I mean, the making of a podcast in the series? Landman. I gotta remember that. I gotta remember that. So cigars coming off really, just really, actually really pretty. Super pretty cigar. Nice burn we've got going on here. I gotta adjust this. I've got my wood here that I'm sitting on. I'm working on this piece of wood here. I just started working on it the other day, yesterday, and it's a piece of white oak that I'm planning on adding to this workbench, maybe right here, and I'm going to put in some track in it, some channels, so that I can do some clamping on the side of the bench. But this is a white oak. This is kind of on the more exterior of the white oak because you can see the sapwood here next to the heartwood, the difference in color. This is really soft, and like you can see here where there are some channels where there are bugs have bored out. This is all in terms of the bugs are all gone. I think I haven't found any at least. So I'm trying to shape it out. You can see the shaper marks here. But I'm trying to find the shape because I would like to, if I just cut out the sapwood, it'd be really narrow, about 6 inches or so. So I like this. I only need really. I could probably use 8 inches or maybe that much would be really great of hardwood. But I figured I'll put the channels in here, and that'll be enough to clamp stuff to the side, and just leave this as just kind of a pretty detail. Something that's a little bit more beauty rather than necessarily function, right? Anton says, when you meet people with copped or destroyed livers, you don't really want to do. Oh yeah, man, gosh, that sounds terrible. Yeah, and plus, in my experience meeting people, I've met people that were heavy, heavy alcohol drinkers who were in their 30s and they looked wrecked, like they looked totally wrecked, like physically. They looked like they were 60s. I mean, and bad 60s. I was like, wow, that's crazy. It's quite good. Oh, okay. Give it a look. I will. I will. Landman. I will definitely look that up. Yeah, the live edge. The live edge is pretty. I've actually put a live edge on the countertop that we're using for the bar at the new shop, and this is one of the other pieces that's kind of matching to the bar, but it's just not as long. So, but there's not too much you can do with. Well, maybe there is. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. There's more time to figure that out. It's not like I'm pressed to do any of it. So just coming along really well. But like I was saying at the very beginning of the show, and I have to look back on the episodes to know this for a fact, but I think that we started this live stream right around this time 4 years ago. I don't know if we actually started on Thanksgiving or maybe we started in October of 2020, but it was really, I was just thinking about that before we started. I was like, oh, I wonder if this is the actual anniversary date. Anton says, my mother's also a nurse. When we receive patients, we ask them if they smoke or not. She and I noticed we can almost always tell beforehand if they smoke. When you say about the smoking, are you talking about cigarette smoking or cigar smoking or just smoking in general? And what are the things that give that away to you as a medical professional? Oh, don't worry, you won't. I've been hearing about not smoking all my life. But I will say one thing about the cigar smoking. It has my personal consumption of cigars has slowed down dramatically over the last 2 years. Like, I used to go out, we used to go out every night. And I mean almost like minimum 5 nights a week. Probably 2 cigars a night, sometimes 5. Hanging out, talking, just doing what guys do. But for the last like 2 years, like I've really slowed down on my consumption only because I'm just doing other stuff. And also I think that back then, for many years, we all had a home cigar shop where we'd go hang out pretty much every day. You could go there any evening and find a crew of guys that we're friends with to hang out with and talk. But now that cigar shop is closed, we don't really have a home shop. So there's no real place to go and hang out. So it's a very different world now than it used to be. Regular smoking, okay. Daily 10 or more. Oh, man. Yeah. Yeah, there's a look. Maybe a leather. To me, there's sometimes a look to them, maybe a leatheriness. The way they sound can also have an impact. Most of the time, they have fine wrinkles and sunken faces. Yeah, I hear you. I hear you on that. George says, yeah. I think Anton gets that, George. I think that's just more a question. But I was curious if there were things that might, are there attributes of smoking cigars that people notice? I personally don't have anything that I can think of because mainly I don't, and I would say that I can also attribute that thought to the fact that maybe I'm very biased because we do enjoy cigars, so we might be looking a little more optimistically on our thing. All right, we're trying to say that. Okay. Like before this cigar, I didn't smoke yesterday. I think I had one cigar Monday night or Sunday night. Sunday or Monday night, I had a cigar, and then prior to that, I didn't have one until last week's show. So yeah, and before I would have had 15. But this wonderful complexity, really deep, good spice, but a really well blended spice. Oh, we haven't done in a little while. We haven't tasted our Black Maple Hill. With this cigar, it doesn't feel as cold. I think because I've got the heater fairly in close proximity to me. But I thought supposedly it's going to be down to the 30s tomorrow, which is like right around 0 degrees for you guys in Europe or outside of America. Now I'm getting a little bit of sweetness. Oh, that's a nice pairing. That is a nice pairing. I think we're definitely through the first third. So let's just give a quick rundown. I'm going to say flavor, I think, has been excellent. The body, that's one thing. The body is not very heavy. Like coming from Roma craft cigars that are definitely on the heavier side, this is definitely more medium, very tempered. But I'm going to say it's also a 9 in quality, excellent in quality. I'm digging it. But here's the thing for me, at least, right? I mean, this is probably one of the bigger reasons why I don't actually drink too often when I'm having cigars is that I feel like the strength and complexity of this, while initially is very complementary, in this case, the second puff now and third puff, I feel like I'm not the alcohol is a little bit stronger, or maybe it's including some of my sensory perception on my palate of the cigar. So I'm not. I feel like I'm not enjoying it as much as I would have without it. George says my battery's almost dead, so I've got to hop off. Hope you had a great turkey day as well. Thanks for tuning in. Glad to see you there, George. Look forward to seeing you again soon. Have a wonderful evening wherever you happen to be. So I think that's a big reason why I don't smoke, or why I don't have a lot of alcohol when I'm having a cigar. Also, because I tend to be, if I'm out, then it's a question of having to drive home, and it's like there's just after you get to a certain point in life, there's just too much risk to that. Too much is on the line to get pulled over for and get charged with DUI. You get pulled over, get a DUI charge. It's going to cost you, the minimum is $10,000, and whatever other problems you're going to have, and suspended license. You're just like, that's just too much, too much hassle, just for that little bit of momentary pleasure. Which is why every time I go to Heidelberg, I get a hotel in Heidelberg so that I can Uber to the Brauhaus Wetter, drink their winter Bock, and Uber back to or walk back to the hotel and not have any issues. But let's see how this tastes with the cigar just by itself. This bourbon pecan coffee. Not bad. Anton says, wow, that retraced my dream machine, espresso machine. Oh, yeah, man. But I hear so one of my good friends owns a place called Backyard Coffee in Frankfurt. And he tells me that, like, you guys have much more severe driving laws than we do in the United States. Like, I remember one year I was hanging out with him and he's like, man, we're talking about driving. And I was like, man, I gotta, like, how? Because I noticed that, like, let's say we're driving, like, I don't know, 180 kilometers speed limit or whatever it is, 100 to 120. And then suddenly the roadway changes to 80 kilometers, which is like 50 miles an hour. And I'm like, to me, that's such a dramatic slowdown. It's like, it feels uncomfortable to do that, to like you feel like you want to go faster because you've been going so fast and now you're down to 80 and you're like, oh man, this sucks. But I was like, how strict are they? They're like, oh, he's like, we're super strict here. Like, he told me that he got a ticket for 10 kilometer speed or speed limit, 10 kilometers over the speed limit. And he got a 30-day suspension of his driver's license. It's like, what, 30 days? I was like, holy crap, man, that's pretty harsh. And he's like, yeah, but at least I can take it whenever I want. Evidently, my understanding is that you get these penalties, and you can you can decide when you're going to have this 30-day suspension. I guess it can't be 5 years from then, but it's not like it happens, at least for whatever infraction he had. Yeah, and our cars are strictly controlled by TÜV. TÜV. What does TÜV mean? Oh, for no weird self-repair jobs. Oh, okay. So you have to have it serviced by licensed places, I imagine, or is that correct? Is my understanding correct? All right, so we're gonna take the band off. We're almost through the second third. But I have to say, when my first trip to across Germany was in 2010. I rented a car and decided I was going to, I would fly to Frankfurt because that's where United flies to, and all my connections. But I decided I was going to hang out for like a week and go see the country. So I rented a car, went to Sixt, and I rented a car, and they were like, hey, would you like, I rented a small one, a small BMW. And when I got to the place, the woman was like, would you like an upgrade? I was like, what do you mean? She's like, we can give you a 635 CSI. And I was like, a 630 or a 630, whatever the 6 Series at the time. I think the 635 is the old BMW. And I was like, oh, that's tempting. That's really tempting. And then, but then I was thinking, I got to drive and park on the street, like in Berlin and stuff like that, because I'm cheap and I don't want to pay for parking. And I was like, I don't want to have the hassle of trying to parallel park in a city of big car. So I kept the 118 BMW and drove around that. But that was my first taste, I'm stomping on this 118 on the Autobahn as fast as it'll go. Like I've got it hammered to the floor and I'm trying to get it to go as fast as I can, right? And then subsequent trips, I would get other cars. Like one time I had the E-Tech Mercedes Saloon, right? Oh no, the Touring. The Touring is the one that has the station wagon, right? The door in the back. And I gotta say, it was these trips that made me realize the beauty of the German cars. Because when you can drive sustained 120, 130 miles an hour and faster, that's when you see the beauty of these cars. The stability, the quiet, the way they drive, the feeling of it, man, it's so beautiful. It's like so driving at 75 miles an hour here in the United States does not give you any indication of what these cars are truly capable of. It's really, really amazing. The cars also have to be checked regularly, and it's written TÜV. TÜV? TÜV, is it called TÜV? Oh, TÜV and TÜV. Oh, gotcha. Okay, gotcha. Yeah, because my last trip, I was going to Saarbrücken to go visit Sully DeLay. And at the Hertz, I rented from Hertz that day. At the Hertz place, they were like, "Oh, we got this car for you. This Volvo, like the C6, the Volvo 60 series, but the Touring that has the station wagon." And I got in this Volvo and I was like, "Oh my, this is really nice. Like this is like I'm gonna love this drive to Saarbrücken." And I get out and I'm like, drive. There's the gate coming out of the parking garage, and I drive out, and then I notice the light is on. The low tire light is on. I was like, oh, the low tire light is on. I better go back and have them like fill it. So I went back into the Hertz, and they were like, oh, and I guess this maybe has to do with your whole thing. They were like, we got to give you another car. And I was like, can't you just like refill the tire? And they're like, well, I think we think the tire like has a hole in it. I think, yeah, well, I'll wait. I was like, I'll wait. They're like, no, we have another car for you. And they gave me a Volkswagen Passat station wagon. And I was like, what the hell is this? Passat. And I was like, I'm a Volkswagen guy. Always love Volkswagen. So I was like, okay, it's not as nice. Like you get in, it's kind of plasticky. Like modern Volkswagens are plasticky and kind of lame. You're like, what is this? And it's a dog. It's a dog on the Autobahn. You're like, what is this? I was expecting like stomping power from the Volvo, and I got this weak Wolfsburg experience. I was like, what? I was like, oh, this is not the pride of Wolfsburg. It's like it's terrible. It was terrible. Three days of that. I was like, I couldn't wait to get back to the airport and give it back. But one thing I do like about renting cars in Germany is that, like in America, I don't think this happens. Like in America, you rent a car, they give you a car. Germany, I guess you guys are so strict on your laws, they are always changing the tires. Like if I rent in the wintertime, they've got winter tires. So like I don't have to worry about driving so much in the snow. Like my corollary is this one year I was flying into Chicago and it was snowing. So I was actually on a connection flight. I was on a flight that was going to connect in Chicago to fly to Baltimore. Well, we're flying there, and the United App sends me a notice. Your flight to Baltimore has been canceled. I was like, canceled? Well, crap. I got the last flight out of the night, so there's no flying home tonight, right? So I was like, oh, I got to go do something. So I got online with Hertz, and I was like, hey, I need to rent a car. Well, thank you very much. I need to rent a car, and I love this. I love this. Where is that coming from? I need to rent a car and just hang out. So there's a cigar place I wanted to go check out in countryside. So I go to the Hertz counter, and they're like, at the time, because of my status with United, I had the President's Circle, the highest tier at Hertz. But that's only because I was at a very good tier at United. Because I don't rent cars nearly as much. Like I don't rent cars enough to make status with a car company like it Hertz. But since I'm the highest tier, they're like, oh yeah, whatever car you want out there, you can take with you. And it's already snowing, right? It's snowing and it's accumulating. And they had like an Escalade. I was like, ooh, Escalade. They had the Toyota 4Runner, four-wheel drive. I was like, ooh. And then I saw they had the brand new like Infinity G60, the like sedan coupe, like sports car. And I was like, ooh. I was like, you know what, man? This is Chicago. These guys know snow. It's not like I'm in South Carolina and it snows and then everyone's paralyzed and everyone's crashing. So I figured that Chicago area would be very good with their cleanup of the snow and mitigation of the snow. Now this G60 is not like in Germany where they fitted like winter tires to it. This thing had like its normal tires. But I was like, I'm gonna take that car. I had a hell of a time for like 2 nights with this thing because I ended up staying another night because there was enough snow that I guess, I forgot why, and maybe I just pushed it off or whatever, but I stayed 2 nights, had a great time with this car. It was a little bit slippery, was probably not the smartest move or safest move to do to get the G60 over the Escalade or 4Runner four-wheel drive, but I was like, whatever. Yeah, we never get tired of it. Oh, gotcha. I hear you on that. But I do like renting cars in Germany. I love going around Germany. I wish I was there now for the Christmas markets. I think those are wonderful, wonderful things. And I really enjoyed the times that I've been there during this part of the year, where I would visit different cities or different towns, and then get to visit each town's version of the Christmas market because I think those are really just wonderful experiences, and each one's a little bit different. They have similar things, but each one has a different character. No, I got the pun. I got your pun. I got you. I got you. So we're almost through the second third, but this is just performing beautifully. Same, it's not a powerhouse kind of cigar in the way that other cigars are. Like, let's say again, back to the Roma Craft or the Tatuaje, things like that. Much more much more subtlety in the complexity. Much more subtle in its complexity. Just really pretty. Really the kind of experience that you really expect from a Padron. And this is true even not just with these like higher end of their line, expensive part of their line. I found this to be also true in their lower lines, in the regular lines. Their 1,000 series, right? They have what, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 7,000. I forgot exactly how they break down, but the thousands have individual numbers and they all mean a different particular size. And then they have variations, natural wrapper and Maduro wrapper. And I think my understanding is that it's all the same blend, same wrapper. It's just some wrappers are darker than others. And as they're grading them in the factory, they're selecting which it looks darker and putting those together versus the ones that are lighter, putting those together. And then they label them natural and Maduro. I think that's my understanding. We had a tour of the Padron factory about 10 years ago, and that was kind of what I took away. Now, I had the strongest capacity for Spanish amongst my friends that were visiting. We were all hanging out together there. And the guy was speaking in full Spanish, taking us on a tour, explaining everything. So I'm translating, but my translation could have been very poor. Like, I didn't, like, at the time, my comprehension was probably about 75%. So there's a lot. 25% is a lot to miss. But that's my understanding. But I gotta say, the one time, one year, this is a different year than this one, but I was in Nicaragua buying coffee. And then I was meeting some other friends in El Salvador to go on more, because we would do like Salvador, Costa Rica, Nicaragua, and Honduras. Sometimes Honduras, but at least those three countries we do in one trip and do our coffee buying in one trip. And I would usually do Nicaragua by myself sometimes because I would do other things and then join everybody in El Salvador, and then we'd fly to Costa Rica. But in this particular trip, I was going to El Salvador, but I didn't have any more cigars. I was kind of out. So I went at the airport in Managua, Nicaragua. They've got, in the departure lounge, there's a Padron. At the time, I hear it's different now. There's a Padron store, but back then there was just a Padron kiosk. And I was like, I need some cigars. And they got the Robusto. I think they're the 5,000 or maybe 3,000 series is the Robusto. And I said, they sell them in 5-packs. And I was like, let me get a 5-pack here at the airport. I'll bring it and I'll have that for the next week that I'm in El Salvador. So I buy this box, toss in my bag, jump on the flight, fly to El Salvador. That night, I'm at the hotel, having the cigar, light it up. And I gotta say, it was the most perfect Padron I've ever had. And I think it's probably because it's the proximity to the factory. Like, it didn't have to get exported to the United States and fly or float on a boat or whatever they do with it, and then sit in their warehouse in Miami and then get distributed to their dealers around the country, and then finally get to me. This one comes from the factory to the kiosk, to me, and onto the plane. And this cigar, perfect hydration. I have never had a cigar before or since that was so perfectly humidified and so perfectly balanced. To this day, decade or so later, it still rings in my mind as the most perfect smoking experience that I've had, for sure with Padron and perhaps with any cigar ever. So if you happen to be in Nicaragua, flying out of the airport, and you're interested, buy a Padron there. And I'm going to say chances are you're going to have an exceptional example of their product. And I would say that it's probably better than if you went to Miami, to their offices in Miami and got a cigar there. I would say it's better than what you're getting there because, again, of the proximity to the factory. But this, however old it was when it was gifted to me in 2019, today in 2024, it is a beautiful smoke. A little bit light on the fragrance and cold draw, but really a lovely performer throughout tonight's hang. This coffee is cold because I left the cap off, so all the heat was just building up. But it's like with the bourbon in the coffee, a nice flavor. So what do you guys got going on tomorrow? Here in the United States, since today is Thanksgiving, it's our big holiday. It also is the beginning of the Christmas season. So tomorrow, as I'm sure those of you who might not even be in the United States will know, that tomorrow is what begins what we call Black Friday. So lots of sales trying to get you to buy more stuff. And for the last couple of weeks, I've been seeing all these Black Friday notices, right? I'm a little bit underwhelmed. To be honest. I've seen a lot of companies coming out that are massive savings, 5% off, 7% off, 10% off. And I'm like, what are you talking about? 10% off? Are you kidding? This is massive savings? Like maybe in the world of Festool, that would be massive savings. But in the world of regular tools or any kind of product, 10%, 5% is like nothing. Like that's not enough to get me to like roll out of bed and like go chase the deals. Like 20% starts to like look interesting. 50% is definitely interesting. But you know, a lot of places are like, you know, not well discounted this year. Like I don't know what it is. Maybe I think it could be that people are fearful of the new administration and the tariffs that this guy keeps talking about that he's planning on imposing. But I did spot a couple of deals that are kind of nice. At least in this woodworking thing that I've been obsessing about over the last couple months. There's a there's this thing called a planer, right? A thickness planer. What this does, it basically you feed the wood through it, right? The big piece of wood that you have. Oh no, my pen is gone. A piece of wood like this, right? You put it this through the machine and it makes the thickness like this. And that's exactly how we came up with this piece. We put this through Matt's thickness planer. And I was thinking, oh, it'd be nice to have one here because I've got some woods that I could use to plane myself without having to bother anyone else. And there's a couple deals that I saw that were pretty good, but I don't know yet. I don't know. George says, I need to do TV. My Vizio that isn't 2 years old, the motherboard went up. Oh, that sucks. I'm furious, but 50-inch Samsung Smart TV for $250 isn't bad. You know what? You might want to say. Now, I know this is not 50 inches, but the other day my sister, so one of my TVs here, this TV, we have, I think it's 27 inches that we watch Netflix on. Netflix, started like in October, started telling on the screen, they're like, starting on November 10th, this TV will no longer be serviced by Netflix because it's too old and they don't get enough data off of it. It's not smart enough anymore. So they're like, we will not sell. You will not be able to access Netflix. So I have not had Netflix in over like almost 2 weeks now. I don't really miss it. Like I don't really care. But my sister-in-law, she's like, oh, she sent me this thing. There's a place called Woot, Woot. I guess it's a part of Amazon. And they had a bunch of refurbished Vizios, 32 inches for $60. So you might look there to see, and I figured I'll look there eventually. But you might look there to see if you might find a TV that you might be able to use that will be at a better price than $250, maybe. Yeah, but I gotta say, 50 inches, $250. Considering how much those TVs cost a couple years ago, not bad. But is there any kind of warranty that they have on the Vizio? Like so in this woodworking thing, like, there are these table saws, right? You guys are familiar with table saws, right? And I was thinking about a table saw, but I really wasn't thinking about a table saw because I was like, at some point I'll get one, maybe sometime next year. But I kind of narrowed it down to two that I really like because I'm looking for something really compact, really small. Because I'm not going to be breaking down big wood. I'm not planning on building cabinets. That's not really what I have interest in. And who am I going to build cabinets for? Myself? I can only have so many cabinets. So I just need smaller. So I narrowed it down to this Festool one. This is what they call the CSC 650, which is this little teeny tiny thing. I was like, oh, that's nice. Really, really nice. But like Festool, really, really expensive. George says the warranty is 1 year. Of course. Now, there's this other table saw manufacturer called SawStop. You might have heard of them. SawStop is this table manufacturer that makes table saws that measure that have some kind of electronics that touch the blade, that if your finger touches the blade, it will know and it will stop it from operating and like save your fingers. Which if you watch people who make YouTube videos about these things, they're all like, this is the greatest technology. You must, it's really, how much is your fingers worth? And I got to agree, there's how much are your fingers worth? Like if you get your fingers cut off, that's a whole nother world of issues. If this can prevent that, that's got to be worth something. And their cheapest saw is like $900, and then it goes up from there. So cheaper than the Festool, a little bit bigger than the Festool, a little more capacity as far as cut depth and size and all this than Festool. But really, I'm just looking for compactness. Then there's other ones that are cheaper, like Cobalt, Skill, that are small, not necessarily smaller, but small, and much cheaper, $300. But nobody talks about how these compare between them. They just talk about this is a great beginner saw and it's cheap. But how is the performance? They say the performance is good enough. And how much performance do I really need? Probably not that much. I'm not a very good technical woodworker at the moment. So how would I know the difference? But I'm also like, if I'm going to buy one, just buy a nice one and never have to worry about it. But I wasn't really planning on it. I asked some guys online with this forum that I participate in their thoughts on these saws. They're like, these are these are good, these are bad. You might. One guy was like, you should get the cabinet saw, and I'm like, I'm thinking, I appreciate the guy and his experience and his like knowledge in that fact, but like, a cabinet saw is very large, especially for the space that I have to work in. I don't have that kind of space, and I'm not willing to give that kind of space to it. So I need definitely smaller and more that I can make modular. And this one from SawStop, what they call the compact table saw, their CTS, kind of fits that bill. I'm perusing Facebook Marketplace the other day, and I find this guy that bought one about a year ago, military guy, getting transferred, unexpectedly transferred out to a different part of the world. And he's like, I got to sell it. And I need to move it by the December 2nd. And he wants whatever money. So I talked to him, hey, how about this? And he's like, okay, let's do that deal. I was like, oh gosh, I guess I got to go get it now. So everything goes well. If everything goes as we've been talked about, I guess I'll be having a table saw soon. Now, in the world of Festool, so SawStop is owned by the same parent company as Festool. But SawStop is originally an American company based in Portland, Oregon. And their designs of their product is definitely very American woodworking centric. And I'm only starting to realize this, but I guess if you follow like this, you kind of see this over time. Just the stylistic differences between like Europe and the United States in this sphere. But in the world of Festool, if you buy a tool, like I got a used track saw that I bought from a guy that bought this saw. He bought this saw in October. Decided he wanted a different model, and decided to sell it. So I got it for like a very, very, very like compelling price, like extremely compelling. But it's only a month old, and I asked the guy, did you register the tool with Festool? No, I haven't. Do you still have the original receipt? I do. Deal is done. So I can take this tool and I can register it with Festool and get their full 3-year warranty. Now, if he had registered it, I could also re-register it under my name with Festool and get whatever remaining time that he has on this tool, which is great. This is the nice thing about Festool. They will warranty their product for 3 years under almost any circumstance, meaning that if you wear it out in that 3-year period, or it breaks or something goes wrong with it, they will replace it or fix it for free. They will even pay for the shipping for you to ship it from wherever you are to their facility in Indiana and then ship it back to you as part of their deal for 3 years. That kind of warranty is really incredible. So there was part of me that when I started talking to the guy, I was like, I wonder what SawStop's deal is. Like, since SawStop is owned by the same parent company, and they are also a premium price product like Festool, maybe it's the same. So I looked it up on their website, and no, it's not the same. It's just like, it's worse than DeWalt, right? DeWalt has a 3-year warranty, not as good as Festool's. Definitely, they don't cover a lot of stuff. They have a lot of wordage to get themselves out of it. SawStop, same kind of wordage to get themselves out of it. 1-year warranty, and like the DeWalt warranty, only for the original purchaser. So you can't transfer it no matter how old it is, no matter how young it is. So if you bought it, if you had an original buyer that bought it last week and you bought it from him and you tried to register, you technically couldn't register. They wouldn't cover it because you're not the original purchaser. And I was like, you know what? That's some weak ass stuff right there. But honestly, the deal is very good. So it's like, it's not worth it. The risk is worth it then. The risk is worth it. Okay, so we've gotten through the second, third. We're in the third. Now let me go through this a little bit here. I do have another pencil. I think we've been very consistent. I think we're still excellent as far as the flavor. And this lower body's still there. We're still there. So this is kind of what I've been thinking about. So I looks like I might be having a table saw suddenly. But we'll see. Who knows? Things could go awry at any moment. I've learned over the years never get too excited about anything until it actually happens, because everything can go pear-shaped at any moment. But so tomorrow, here in the United States, since it's Black Friday, it's still kind of a holiday. It's kind of work day, but it's kind of holiday, right? So my friends, one of my friends, he's Italian. He's got a he's been inviting me to his family's event every year, which is always a fun time because his whole family gets together. They're really raucous, as you would expect from an Italian family, and they like to make ravioli. Their tradition is to do a Thanksgiving gathering the day after Thanksgiving and to make ravioli. So they make ravioli at his mom's house from scratch, and it's really a good time. Like I'm always excited to go to their house. I'm like, ooh, this is really fun. But yeah, that's my plan for tomorrow. Maybe go to the wood shop too. Festool has come out with for this holiday season with this special sandpaper pack. So Festool makes these sandpapers called the Granats. And if you buy the 10 pack for if you buy the 10 pack of sandpapers in the various grids, they cost $18 a piece, each 10 pack. This kit, they have a special kit that's coming out with like 10 different, I think it's 10 different grits in 10 packs, so 100 sandpapers, which would cost you typically, well, 10 times 18 is $180. They've got a special kit. Or maybe it's just 6. I think it's probably just 6. $65. And when I saw that announcement a few weeks ago, I was like, ooh, that's the one thing I do want to buy from. I was like, all right. Because I'm not doing it. It's like, so they sell these packs in 10 of different grits, and then you can also buy them in stacks in boxes of 50. I don't do that. At least I'm not at the point where I'm doing enough work that I would think that buying 50 of any particular grit is worth my worth it at the moment. I'm just doing this as for fun, just to occupy to give me like new inspiration. And so I was like, this thing is right up my alley, right up my alley. I was like, all right, I'm gonna buy that. So how about you guys? What are you guys planning to do tomorrow or the weekend, now that we're in this holiday season? Our cigar tonight is doing very well. Nothing I gotta go do is get some more propane filled. A friend of mine gave me some propane tanks. So now I have 5. And I've been using, since it's getting cold, I got my heater. I've been using my heater out here to heat the garage when I'm working out here. And I'm burning through them at a pretty good clip. Like I've got like now, there are 3 tanks that are empty, and I only have this one that's burning now and one more full. I'm like, oh, I gotta go get it refilled. So tomorrow I gotta hit the hardware store and get some more propane. Hit the bank to talk to them and ask them for some money. It's okay, can I withdraw some money today? Then it's time to look for some, start planning for the gifts for my nieces and nephews. This cigar, very good. I mean, really great. Just lovely. I think we can continue on with our scoring, and we're good enough into the cigar. I think we're still at the same point with both. Here's one thing that I found. This, I mentioned this pen a few weeks ago, this tomato 0.5 millimeter pencil, mechanical pencil, and I think it's been great. The only problem is that I'm still trying to get that right tip. Like maybe you can kind of see that tip right now, how long it is coming out of the end of the pencil. I think this is all right, but you kind of go through that a little bit fast. So if I click it out like that far, that can be too long. Like it'll break. And that just irritates me because I'm breaking pencil tips all the time. All right, our burn has been beautiful. Our draw has been beautiful. I gotta say, man, it's probably 9.5. Consistency, I'm gonna say 9.5 as well. And overall, wow, I'm gonna have to say overall, excellent. Which really gives us a very, very great score. Anton says, love to use these to draw as a kid. Oh yeah, these are wonderful pencils. Wonderful. So our tough score for tonight for the Padron, really great. I think this might be the highest score of the year, 89.25. Just a wonderful, wonderful cigar. I would venture to say that's probably the highest ranked cigar for 2024. One of the best, one of the top rated ever in the series. In this series, I think the highest score is the Mirfel Mare, which I think I gave it 92. Even now that it's getting a little bit hotter slightly because I'm puffing on a little bit more towards the end, still a beautiful cigar. A little bit more weightiness right now. A little bit heavier, but very nice. We still have a little bit of our Black Maple Hill. Black Maple Hill. Let's finish that off. Ah, the burn. The burn. I can feel that it's getting chillier now. Definitely the temperature here is dropping because it's definitely getting colder. And Tuss says, because of my father's work, I had access to these pens and transparent paper. I swear, parsing with transparent paper is the hack to get good at drawing. Oh man, that that reminds me of that transparent parchment type paper. My first after college, after high school, after I graduated high school, I went to art school for a year, and I learned a lot about like until my I guess my technical major at art school was interior design, which I don't know how I got classified in interior design. I think it was the classes I took, but I really wanted to be a graphic design major, but I was somehow I got labeled as an interior design major. But yeah, I took a bit of architectural drawing classes, so we would use those kind of like translucent papers to do those like layups and things like that, and mechanical pencils. Also the very not the they weren't fountain pens, they were more mechanical. I guess they wouldn't be called mechanical pens, but they were drafting pens or architectural pens, where they would have these type of tips, right, that would have very controlled point sizes. And I used to have, I don't know what happened to them, but I had a whole set of them. And you would draw on this parchment paper, draw the lines, and then I remember we would take this powder that would cause it to dry on the paper, and then you brush it off, and it would like, and then it would be fine. You could then touch it. It would totally. Your comments there totally reminds me of those days. Rusty says the burn is called the Kentucky Hug. I like that. Until I lost interest back in school, I was unmatched in drawing. Oh man, was it just the whole thing where you just kind of like just kind of transitioned out of it and just no longer had that interest? Is that how it progressed? I mean, I totally understand that. Same tips but thicker. Exactly. The tips were all these kind of hollow point tips and barrel shaped like this, but very precise in like the thickness. So they would definitely be thicker and thinner. I think I had the Stedler or Stedler. Yeah, I'm. Now that I've been to Germany, I kind of realized that it's not Stedler, it's Stedler, right? And it's not Still, it's Stiel. Like I have some Stiel tools. Axe. There's an axe back here behind that red one that's here. There's a big forestry axe. But I actually don't have any Still chainsaws. I have a Craftsman chainsaw that my father bought that I have, and I recently bought a DeWalt chainsaw. These battery chainsaws really are quite nice. Like they've got good power. Batteries last pretty. They're very efficient, so they can last pretty long on a relatively small. What I would have thought is a small battery, and they've got good power ratio. I was thinking about buying a Still like gas powered chainsaw, but I was like, I don't really do the kind of work that needs it. Anton says I didn't necessarily lose interest, but there was always something more interesting, like video games. I hear you. Or girls. I was always obsessed with girls. Like I remember this one girl I had a crush on for a long time at art school. She was a photography major, and I took photography classes as well because I really have always been in photography since seventh grade. And I remember going to the dark room at night, and she would be there. And I would never talk to her because I was always kind of like shy to talk to her because she was like so cool, and so like because she was so cool, I was intimidated. But she was this girl, really pretty girl to me, and like she would wear green, like 9-hole Doc Martin boots. And she remember one night she had this yellow dress on, and she had this green hair, like her hair was like all green, like she had bleached her hair and made it all green. I was like, I'm so in love with you. I never did get to talk to her. So sad, so sad. I was really a video gamer. Speaking of video games, my favorite video arcade game And I don't know how old you are, Anton, or if you're of the same era that I am, but my favorite video game is Galaga. Loved Galaga. Loved to play Galaga. I was okay at it, never very good. I also liked Defender 2084. That I was never very good at, but I always enjoyed it. And Tempest. There was a game called Tempest that was a wireframe game that you had a scroll wheel, and you had to go around the circumference of the different shapes, and you'd shoot at these objects that were coming at you. Anton says, "No, I'm 25." Oh yeah, definitely, different era. I was of the 8-bit video game generation. So when 8-bit started to get like popular quite a few years ago, I was like, you want an 8-bit video game? Like my nephew, he's very much into vintage gaming. So he's like all about like old games. Like he's like, can I have your Game Boy? And I'm like, no, you cannot have my Game Boy. You can have, I've given him my like old Atari. I gave him the ColecoVision. I gave him my PS2, my PS3. But I was like, I'm not giving you the Game Boy. The Game Boy is what I still play Tetris. I'm just like Tetris. I love Tetris. I don't know why I love Tetris. I just love it. It's just something I'll sit there for like, when I'm ruling the kingdom in my solo time, I can play Tetris until my butt hurts and I can barely stand. If you got a computer that can run it, I'm sure you would love Warframe. Oh, I guess it needs a really powerful PC to do it. Is that correct? I don't have any real powerful PCs. I'm really mainly a Mac user, so I don't really have any PCs. I have one PC that we use for the shop, so it's very specific to its task, and it's also now almost 15 years old. I'm actually in the midst of like cloning the drive so I can continue using it. Because the machine I bought in 2010, 2009, 2010, end of 2009, beginning of 2010. And it's still got the original hard drive, and it still runs. At least it did a year ago, the last time I ran it. And I was thinking, man, this got to be close to the time that this drive is going to fail. It's got to fail, right? It's got to fail at some point. Like I've had drives last 3 years. I've had drives most drives last 5. This is over 10 years old. I'm like, it's got to fail. So I bought a new drive for it, a 2 gigabyte drive. And Tony gave me a cloning program for it. So that's another project I've got to work on. No, it doesn't need to be too powerful. 1080 Ti upwards there. Oh, okay. I'll look it up. Warframe. Maybe I can do some gaming. I was, for a little while there, about a year or two ago, I was really kind of obsessed with doing more flight simulation. So there's a game called X-Plane that works on the Mac. So I got a little setup for that because I went to this one place and flew their simulator, one of those full motion like flight training simulators for a Boeing 737 Next Gen, the 7800 series. Which, if you have the opportunity to do that, it costs like $250 an hour, but man, it is so worth it. Like I did it for my birthday one year, a couple years ago, and I've been meaning to go back, but it is a bit of money to spend for like an hour. But man, the graphics, the flight control. I mean, you're flying. It's like you're flying a real Boeing. You're like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. Like I love that. Like I love that. I've always been fascinated with aviation, so I'm like, oh, I love that. There was a point a year ago or 2 years ago, I was on a flight and I was talking to the flight attendant, and the flight attendant was my age. I'm 55 now. He was right around my age. And I was like, how long have you been doing this? He's like, I just started. I was like, you just started? I was like, what? They're hiring at our age? And he's like, yeah, man. I was like, and then this is when they had the shortage of everyone. And I was like, maybe this is my chance to make a jump. And I was thinking, maybe I should apply to United to see if I could be a pilot. I never did. I should have. It's probably too late now, but I've always loved the idea of flying commercial airliners. The game is a mix of sci-fi and fantasy and got utterly unique art and story. Oh, all right. I will look at Warzone. Warzone? Warframe. All right, this cigar is now burning my fingers. I'm going to put it down. All right, we're going to put that down. That's too much. Ah. All right, I guess that's going to be it for today for our Thursday Night Hang this week. Our Thanksgiving edition. We just had the Padron Family Reserve, number 50 in the Maduro. Fantastic, 89.25, which if you compare to scoring from other cigar media, they'll probably tell you 93 to 95. We're a little bit more tough, I'd say. We're not like, we have our set criteria that we're looking at. A little bit more, I think we're a little more structured in our scoring. So, but 89.25, even though it's not as high as others, that in our world is I think, an excellent score. Maybe you're too clumsy to be a pilot. Oh, that's probably true. Like landing is always scary. Like I used to do flight training when I was in college. When I was living in Hawaii, there was this place you could fly gliders, sailplanes, and I was doing that for a little while. And as you may know, sailplanes are totally flight based on thermals. They need thermals, rising heat thermals, to help you generate lift so you can go higher, then you go lower. I never progressed to the point where I really understood what I was doing. I was always flying with the instructor. To me, when you were coming to land, that was the end. Like you had to land. Like there was no other option. There's no way that you could, if you made a mistake, there was no powering up and then you fly away, in my mind. Much later in life, within the last 5 years, I would learn that, oh, that is possible. You can bring a sailplane all the way, touch the ground, and then take off again. There's a guy on YouTube by the name of Bruno Vassel, Vassel, that does videos about sailplane flying. And he has this one video that he had the FAA ended up suspending his license for 7 months because of this video. But he was asked by this air show to do an impromptu air acrobatic demonstration, which he did, and he did a whole video about it. It's amazing. Like he comes down to the runway, glide. I can't remember if he glides or if he actually touches down, but he takes off and goes back again. I was like, holy moly, I can't believe he did it. For me, I was always freaked out because I was like, we are connecting with the ground. In my mind, we're connecting with the ground regardless of whether I land successfully or I crash. That's what's happening. So I was always freaked. Landing was always freaky for me. But again, I was always very I was just a neophyte, not even experienced enough to fly solo. So yeah. Mom says, great live. Glad you could decide to come on. Yeah, me too, man. I'm glad to hang out with you guys as always. Good to see all of you. Have a good night. Happy Thanksgiving again to all you. Happy Thanksgiving to all of you out there. And for those of you who may not be in Thanksgiving, happy day to you. Anton, thanks for hanging out with us tonight. Hopefully we made your shift to this evening go a little bit quicker. At least you're not having code blues happening while we're... I don't think that's a happy night either. So, all right. So back again next week, 8 p.m. Eastern time for the Thursday Night Hang next week. We'll go back to one of our more fancy cigars that are going to be, well, I guess we're evaluating this as well. But yeah, and if you're free tomorrow morning, back again with the Coffee Q&A live stream at 10 a.m. Eastern on the main channel, the Ono Coffee channel. So come join us. I think we're going to do the an episode doing eggnog lattes. So if you can join us then, come join us then. If not, man, see you next time. Hope you have a wonderful week and see you then.